Ed Corney and Franco Columbu proved that a good small man is good enough to beat a good big man. My review of the 1971 IFBB Mr. USA and Mr. World coming up next on this episode of Bodybuilding History.
I will be forever the myth.
You're the king of kings,
There's always a pecking order. The little packers never mess with the big packers. So I'm a rooster, and he's a chicken, so to speak.
Welcome to another episode of Bodybuilding History. I'm your host, John Hansen, for the Bodybuilding Legends podcast and the website, bodybuildinglegendshow.com. On this episode of Bodybuilding History, I'm going to talk about the 1971 IFBB Mr. USA and Mr. World contest. These competitions were held together on September 11th, 1971 at the White Plains County Center in New York, and it was promoted by Tom Miniacello, the owner of Mid-City Gym in New York City. Unlike previous years in which all the big competitions were held at the Brooklyn Academy of Music in New York, in 1971, all the big IFBB competitions were split up. The IFBB Mr. Universe and Mr. Olympia were held together in Paris, France, and the Mr. America took place out in California. When bodybuilders all over the country started calling the IFBB and saying they weren't going to travel all the way to California to compete in Mr. America, and where was the Mr. USA contest, the IFBB realized they needed to put together another contest for the Mr. USA and the Mr. World. With only a couple weeks' notice, Tom Miniacello was able to organize everything and put together the Mr. USA, Mr. World competitions together in New York City. So this contest actually took place 2 weeks before the IFBB Mr. Universe and Mr. Olympia that was held in Paris. So let's talk about the IFBB Mr. USA contest first. This contest was held in 3 height classes, short, medium, and tall class. So the short class was won by Ed Corney, and he had previously competed in the AAU Mr. America. In fact, that year he had taken 4th place at the Mr. America, which was won by Casey Viator. Ed looked really good at this contest, and he took 1st place in the short class. He also won the Most Muscular Award. Now, this contest was kind of different because they gave a Most Muscular Award for each height class. 2nd place to Ed in the short class was Leon Brown. Leon had won the IFBB Mr. California and Mr. Western America the year before in 1970. He had a very muscular physique, and he was improving every year. John Bianculli was in 3rd place. This was John's comeback because John had not competed in a contest since 1965. John placed 3rd at the IFBB Mr. America in the short class both in 1963 and 1964, so he was a veteran competitor. In the medium height class, Johnny Maldonado from Mid-City Gym in New York was the winner. Johnny took 2nd at the IFBB Mr. World the year before, and he was always a top contender in the big IFBB events. Gordon Babb, who was also from Mid-City Gym, took 2nd place in this class. Gordon was often the winner of the best back whenever he competed because he had such an outstanding back. And then 3rd place in the medium class went to Doug Lowinger. And the Most Muscular Award in this class was awarded to Gordon Babb. The tall class was interesting because it showed the comeback of Harold Poole. Harold had won the 1963 IFBB Mr. Universe and the 1964 IFBB Mr. America. And of course, he was in 2nd place to Larry Scott at the 1965 and 1966 Mr. Olympia. And then he took 2nd in the Mr. Olympia again in 1967 to Sergio Oliva. So Harold was a real legendary bodybuilder, and he had not competed since that contest in 1968. Harold was really big in this contest, but he didn't quite have that outstanding definition that he was known for. But despite being a little bit smooth, Harold still took 1st place in the tall class. Charles Fouts was in 2nd place in the tall class. Charles was always a top contender in the IFBB, and he had just taken 3rd place at the 1971 IFBB Mr. America that summer. And 3rd place went to Wendell Ram Haros. And the Most Muscular Award in the tall class was surprisingly awarded to Charles Fouts over Harold Poole. In addition to the Most Muscular Awards, they also had body part awards at the IFBB Mr. USA. Ed Corney won Best Legs, Best Arms, and Best Poser. Harold Poole won Best Back and Best Chest, and Charles Fouts won Best Abdominals. In the overall, Ed Corney was awarded the 1971 IFBB Mr. USA title. This was really good this was only Ed's 2nd IFBB contest. He had entered the IFBB Mr. America that summer, and he won the short class there. So as part of Ed's victory at the Mr. USA, he would be flown to Paris, France in 2 weeks to compete at the IFBB Mr. Universe contest. All right, now let's talk about the IFBB Mr. World, which was held in conjunction with the IFBB Mr. USA. The Mr. World was also held in 3 height classes, short, medium, and tall. In the short class, the excellent physique of Franco Columbu completely dominated the competition. By 1971, Franco had already been awarded the Mr. Europe contest and the IFBB Mr. Universe, which he won the year before. Franco also won his class at the IFBB Mr. World in 1970, but the overall there went to Dave Draper. But with his combination of size and thickness and muscularity, Franco was definitely now one of the best bodybuilders in the world. Second place in the short class went to Gaku Takamoto from Japan, and Corney Brown from Trinidad took third place. And the most muscular winner in this class, of course, went to Franco Columbu. The medium class was won by the excellent physique of Steve Barnett from Trinidad. Steve took third in this contest in 1968 and 1970, so he was finally able to win on his third try. Franklin Green, originally from Trinidad but now living in New York, was in second place. And the very muscular 40-year-old Elliot Gilchrist from Grenada was in third place in this class. And then Elliot's extreme muscularity made him an easy winner of the most muscular man winner in the medium class. The tall class went to the popular bodybuilder Dennis Tenorino from New York. Dennis was a former AAU Mr. America winner and also a NABA Mr. Universe winner, and he was making the switch also to the IFBB with this competition. Dennis looked really good with his big structure, and he was in really good shape with great muscularity. Vic Downs from Canada, who was always a top contender at the big international events, took second place, and Hollis Keller from Trinidad was in third place in the tall class. And the most muscular winner in this class went to Vic Downs over Dennis Tenorino. In the body part awards, Franco cleaned house. He won best back, best chest, best legs, best arms, and best poser. The only thing Franco didn't win was best abdominals, and that went to Vic Downs from Canada. And then in the overall decision, of course, Franco won the contest very easily, beating out Steve Barnett from the medium class and Dennis Tenorino from the tall class. So Franco was now an IFBB Mr. Europe winner, as well as Mr. Universe and Mr. World. And Franco traveled to Paris that year to compete in the Mr. Olympia, but he was suspended, along with Sergio Oliva, for competing outside the organization. I believe the contest they suspended Franco for was the year before in 1970 when Franco entered the AAU Mr. World contest. Now, what's funny is that Arnold Schwarzenegger also entered and won that contest. Franco won the short class in the professional division. Arnold won the tall class, but they did not suspend Arnold, but they did suspend Franco for some reason. It might have been that Franco was an amateur and he was competing in a professional contest. So that might have been the reason why the officials decided to suspend Franco from competing in the 1971 Mr. Olympia. So Franco's first Mr. Olympia appearance would then be 1972 when it was held in Essen, Germany. And of course, Franco would go on to compete in the Mr. Olympia in 1973, 74, 75, and then he finally won the competition in 1976, and then came back 5 years later and won it again for a second time in 1981. So I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane to the 1971 IFBB Mr. USA and Mr. World contest, a contest in which both Ed Corney and Franco Columbu proved that a good short man can beat all the competition and win some major titles. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. And don't forget to check out the Bodybuilding Legends podcast each week on your favorite streaming service, and check out the website bodybuildinglegendshow.com for all our previous episodes. This is John Hansen for another episode of Bodybuilding History. We'll see you next time. Take care.